Hello and welcome to Cricbuzz Live. I'm Saiyami Kher. Well, the ghosts of 2019 were buried by India last night. Will South Africa bury the ghosts of 2007 and 1999? We'll find out soon who makes it to the date on the 19th of November with India. But let me welcome the wonderful Michael Vaughan and Dinesh Karthik to the Cricbuzz studios. Both of you gentlemen were lucky yesterday for India, so thank you very much. And I hope you're both going to be in the stadium on the final. But how was the atmosphere? How are you all feeling about this big game?
Well, it's another great semi-final, but last night was electric. The one KD was rocking. Virat Kohli getting his 50th. I bought the shirt outside the ground for you. I forgot to bring it into the studio, but I've got you a Virat shirt in my room too.
Something she's always
wanted. That's a nice gift, isn't it, DK?
Absolutely, something she's always wanted.
And I'm going to put 50 on the back.
I mean, it's special. It's the 50th 100, and I mean, I get it from Michael. It gets very special.
It does. See, just the thought of remembering that you love a Virat shirt, and I'm just envisioning a picture of visualizing you wearing it. It just suits you to the T. It's just great. And moving on to the game, actually, it was a brilliant game. So many good things happened, you know, the way Rohit started, the way Virat just took over, Shubman Gill's brilliant innings through that, and then Shreyas Iyer stood out through the middle, KL Rahul giving the finishing touches. It was a great game, but what was brilliant is the Mumbai crowd. In India batting, they were up and about, it was outstanding, and then suddenly New Zealand got going, there was absolute silence, and you can literally hear somebody speaking in Garwari Pavilion. It was that quiet. And then, you know, Shami did what he's been doing for some time now in the World Cup, but what a game it was. And credit to New Zealand for really fighting and making a chase out of it. 2 wickets down, around the 40 mark, you'd see teams crumbling, trying to chase 400 down. But the way Mitchell and Kane Williamson, man, what an ambassador Kane Williamson is. And we can speak about Virat Kohli's and so many other great cricketers, but Kane Williamson, just for the way he handles himself, so many tough situations as a captain, as a leader, he is just... Every young cricketer should just watch Kane Williamson, not just go about his batting, but how his demeanour and the way he handles situations and the way he handles press conferences. He's a lesson. He's a walking, talking lesson on how to behave as a cricketer. Brilliant.
No, it's so wonderful. I saw a little meme on how his reactions were after a loss, after a win, after a injury. It's all the same face that you see Kane Williamson has. He's
you think he'd
so
make
controlled.
A good poker player?
Yeah. Like, he's humble. You know, I think he's someone. I think that helps his game because, you know, to stay so calm under pressure, you know, that takes a really strong mentality, and he's just got that calmness, you know. And also as a captain out in the middle, well, let's be honest, the ball was flying to all parts. Rohit Sharma, to me, is the benchmark of what this Indian side is. I mean, Virat obviously gets all the headlines. Shreyas with a great 100, Shami with an incredible 7-for, but it all stems from the leader. It all stems from Rohit Sharma in that first over. You know, under pressure in a semi-final in Mumbai, you know, you go back to 2019, you go back to 2015, you know, whether the Indian players admit it or not, they're all thinking about what happened in 2011. They want to be exactly the same as that legendary group. And he went out and just went, forget the pressure, this is what it's about, I'll attack. I'm going to tell you now, this is the way we're going to play our cricket, I'm going to lead from the front. Without Rohit doing what he's done in this World Cup, I don't think the rest follow. You know, I think the fact that Rohit gets them off to a flyer, it allows Virat just to play. You know, Virat's under no pressure. He can just bats brilliantly. But I really do believe it stems from the leader of the team, which is Rohit.
Tactically, what Michael is saying is bang on. Rohit just goes about and does his thing and the rest follow through. But you know, being a leader of Team India, just the way he's gone about things, he can fail. Look, he can fail, and I couldn't, you know, I'll never, you know, fault him for that. Just the attitude with which he's bringing, because he's captained 2 World Cups now, the 2022, and I remember having this conversation with him where he felt bad, like he felt that that is not the way Team India should play if they want to move on from semis to finals, because England has been a great example, like go hard, but if the game is big, go harder. That's what they've done. They've kept it very simple, and it's not something you can talk and get it done. You need to make sure your actions follow what you're speaking about. And what he has done is broken the shackles, and that's what leadership is about. It's not about, yeah, everybody's getting runs. There are lots of lovely things happening, but the way he's just done it for me is a example of what leadership is about. And we have, in any aspect of life, it's more how you walk the talk, and he's done that.
I love his manner as well on the pitch. You know, when there's, you know, there was balls flying to all parts. There was wides bowled, 5 wides. India were a bit rattled in the field. I didn't think they had a great night in the field, but I always watch the captain to see how he's reacting, and he didn't really drop his head. You know, he almost smiled to something, and Shami's drop catch, he probably had a bit of a chuckle. I mean, it was an easy one at mid-on. You look to your leader when the pressure's really on in a game to see how he's reacting. And I always study the captains, and Rohit yesterday he even dropped that ball at extra cover and straight away went, oh, it's the light. Went in the light, it's not my fault. You know, you see a smile, you know, when you're seeing a leader just smile and look like he's actually enjoying the aspect of leading a country under the utmost pressure, it doesn't surprise me at all that the rest of the team are following.
Well, I can't stop smiling because I'd like this conversation to go on, but we have a very, very important game.
Do you want a
on our
Rohit
hands.
shirt as well as a Virat shirt? I can get
A
you
Virat shirt, a Rohit shirt, an India shirt. I'll keep that all reserved for the 19th because we have to. I know I'm a very excited fan who wants to talk about yesterday's game, but it's equally important, if not more, because we need to know who India is playing on the 19th when South Africa take on Australia today. The good news for South Africa is that they've won the toss. They've decided to bat first, and this is what all South African fans wanted. But DK, two teams, 5-time champions, and on paper, they've got everything. They are dominant and they love playing the big games. They love playing World Cups. They know how to win the big games. So Australia in big World Cups, they just know how to switch on the button, don't they?
Australia has probably been the best team in knockouts over a period of time and the most successful ODI team for sure. They won more World Cups than any other team. So you can see it is part of their DNA to win these big games. And just the one loss came against against England in 2019. But other than that, they've been phenomenal. The one tie coming against South Africa. So Australia, in many ways, know what it means to win these big games. And that's a very, very important aspect. But South Africa winning the toss is a massive psychological edge for South Africa. I think that's the space they would have wanted to be in. Yes, there's a bit of rain around. A lot of teams will think, should I probably chase? But the pitch as it is, which says that there could be turn. We heard Temba Bavuma and Matthew Hayden say there could be turn. And South Africa winning the toss, batting first, is the ideal dream scenario. Temba Bavuma must have been under more pressure walking out to the toss than probably walking out to bat, I guess.
But you spoke about Michael, there are two C's which South Africa would have to address. One is, of course, the chasing C, which has been taken care of because they've won the toss. But the other C, this tag that has been put onto South Africa because of their performance in high-pressure games, we see this big red on the right-hand side. How much does this play on the minds of players when they go into a big game like this?
Oh, I mean, I always believe that the present set of players shouldn't be affected by the past. That's in the past. That's many, many years ago. They can't affect anything that's gone on in the past. All they can affect is today. And if they've got strong leadership and Temba's a good leader and there's some good, strong people in that dressing room, they should be really excited about today. They should be thinking, well, let's look at the past and take it as a positive. That some of the past teams that had great teams, South Africa teams of the past had. You look at that the 1999 team. That was a great South African team, but they didn't get over the line. Now, this South African team, and they look at the rugby team that have just won the World Cup for the second time on the trot. You can take inspiration from other sporting teams in their country, and they'll have been having great conversations over the last couple of weeks with the rugby side to just take a little bit from their mentality. They're doing the right thing in terms of batting, but can they come out and as DK made a brilliant point, when the game's bigger, you go harder. You don't suddenly go, right, let's play safer. You go riskier, harder, and more aggressive. If South Africa can do that, their kind of model is to try and play safe for the first 10 and just give themselves a chance. That's their model. I think against Australia, you've got to be ultra aggressive. I just think it's the way to play against the Aussies. The Aussies will turn up. They'll be mentally strong. They're good. They'll be very collective. They'll be on it in the field. They're a brilliant fielding team. So you've got to try and derail that. And the way to derail Australia is to go really hard at them. And in the first few overs, you have to send the message to them that you're here to play. If you sit back and you're a bit timid, Australia are probably the best team in the history of cricket of realising when a team are timid. And when they get a little bit of an ounce to stample all over you, they'll do it. So you have to get on the front foot against them and play really aggressive cricket.
But, DK, there's something that Faf has also spoken about. Bavuma spoke about this, saying that we want to follow our process, exactly like what Michael's talking about. On the big day, you don't do anything different from what you've been doing. And this is what Bavuma said. He said that we've been following a process through this World Cup. It's gone very correctly for us, and that's what we're going to do. There is a slight amount of anxiety, which is natural, but we're not letting the choker tag get to us, because we've addressed it and we will play with complete positive intent, which we've been doing?
Absolutely, they should just go about, and they've had a brilliant World Cup. Look, they've slipped up a couple of times, one against India where they were completely annihilated, but the one against Netherlands hurt them a bit, but they came back after that, won a few games. For me, that Pakistan game was a critical one where the belief would come. 9 wickets down, 10 runs to chase, Maharaj and Shamsi being there. They got through that. Those are the moments that just keep you in good stead as a team. There have been plenty of good performances from the batting unit and the bowling unit. But collectively as a team, they've also put up some real good performances. Yes, most of it has come batting first. And today, as I said, the toss was vital. They've won that. That's one step now. For me, as Michael says, I think key is going to be how they go about batting in the first 10. If they can find a way to put pressure on Australia, that would really send a message to Australia more than anybody else that we are coming at you and we believe we have it in us to make sure on this big day we are the team that's going to stand up. I'm sure Siya Kolisi, who's their rugby captain, would have probably had a chat or through Zoom or something like that. And that's the kind of inspiration they need. Winning back-to-back Rugby World Cups, any World Cup for that matter, isn't easy. And South Africa have done it for the first time in history. And that for them will be a lot of inspiration that they can take from. And I would love for South Africa to do something special today. It's a team that has been chasing glory for some time now. At times they've been unlucky, at times they've not played great cricket. But if ever a cricket team needs a positive infusion of belief, this South Africa has it in them to give a lot of people back home watching. We have it in us to do something special.
Well, the Bavuma said the rugby team has sent them a 30-minute long message as well. So just what you spoke about. Let's have a look at South Africa's team first. Like Michael was saying, they need to go hard against Australia. The first 10 overs, like DK was saying, they need to go hard. So Janssen's in and Shamsi is in. Michael, any surprise there? We know that Janssen was rested. He's had a great World Cup, but Janssen in, and they're going with 2 spinners today.
Yeah, and it's Nagidi that misses out and Philiquet who misses out as well. Not surprising. Janssen was really rested in the last game. I'm delighted they're playing Shamsi. I think to beat Australia spins the way. So they've got Maharaj, who's been with Jadeja and Santner, magnificent left arm orthodox spin, and he's been fantastic. And I do think, Shamsi didn't bowl great against Pakistan on this venue, but I do think playing against Australia on a pitch that's used will be a little bit of purchase. We saw that in the England versus Pakistan game. And I think Glenn Maxwell's a freak against spin. He's a brilliant player. But I think some of the other Australian players, I think you can get with spin. So I think it's exactly the right team that they've picked South Africa for a big semi-final.
Let's have a look at Australia's playing 11 and see if they have any changes today. Well, 2 changes in. Maxwell gets in and Stark gets in. Any surprise there, DK? Or this is what we were all expecting?
That's a stock standard team. Yeah. David Warner, Travis Head, Mitchell Marsh, pretty much what we expect. Glenn Maxwell, the star of the show. And then we have Mitchell Stark, who was a non-negotiable to come in instead of Sean Abbott. A team that we all expected. It's been a team that is having tremendous momentum. They won 7 on the bounce, so they will believe that they have it in them. They obviously have the history to say that they are a team which is good in knockouts, and the fact that they're playing real good cricket. Who starts as favourites? For sure, Australia. They have a solid team. This is the team that they would have liked to put out on the park at any point of time in this World Cup. They've got their best 11. 2 teams which have their best 11 on the park. The only the only change would have been, Ngidi would have been in place of Gerald Coetzee at the start of the tournament. But because of how well Coetzee has bowled through the middle phase, they realize he's a wicket taker. And teams which have picked wickets through the middle between 11 and 40 have been the teams that have dominated with the ball. And they would have been aware of it. And Australia have a few left-handers, so Shamsi comes in the picture a lot more. So some good matchups there, some good bowling matchups for both teams. It's going to be a cracker of a game.
Well, good bowling matchups you spoke about, and there are 2 players both for South Africa and Australia, 2 veterans who are going to be playing their last World Cup. The way they've played, one almost feels like, why is it their last World Cup? They should continue playing. David Warner and Quinton de Kock are up there on a Naukri career score. Naukri.com, India's #1 job portal, uses its expertise in helping grow careers, applies this to cricket stats, and what we get is a whole new way of looking at cricket careers. And both Warner and Quinton de de Kock are right up there, and this is amongst the openers. Quinton de Kock at number 1, Warner not very far behind. He's at number 5. They've both have had brilliant World Cups. Of course, Quinton de Kock with those big 400s, and David Warner shouldering the responsibility when there was no Travis Head. But what's interesting with the Naukri career score is we get to kind of compare both the openers. We'll have a look at both the comparison. DK we can see here, both of them here in the longevity. This is not only as openers, this is as batters. So they're both at number 1. They've played all the games. With situational performance, we see Warner at 10 and Quinton de Kock at 4. This is what I find really interesting because, Quinton de Kock's come in and he's been very important to South Africa. Just like what Michael was saying, they need to go hard, and we know who goes hard for South Africa.
Very true. I think it's a telling stat that, and you can see a lot of what South Africa do hinges on how Quinton de Kock starts. The couple of games that he failed, they found it hard, especially when chasing down scores. So he is that batter who obviously gets them off to a good start. Very good player of fast bowling. He's one of those guys who can be really hard to bowl to because one of his strengths is to pick up that pull, and that's of a good length ball. So he's very strong in that area. That makes it tough to bowl to him. It's interesting to see him rated ahead of Warner, and I say that because what Quinton de Kock does for South Africa, the impact that he creates is so much more than what a Warner does for Australia because of the middle order players that obviously have a role to play there. But Quinton de Kock has been special for South Africa for some time now. But coming into this World Cup, we didn't have a World Cup 100, and this year, I mean, the World Cup that he has had, what a World Cup he has had actually in the 400s, and he's just batted wonderfully well. He's been the form player. He was topping the run charts till one Mr. King Kohli decided, no, I need to get ahead, and he showed the world how it needs to be done. But Quinton de Kock is going to play a very, very important role even in today's game.
Michael, DK is clearly taking the side because even in his playing 11, he has Quinton over Warner. For you, would you pick a Warner over Quinton, or do you go agree with DK?
Oh, I think it's hard. It's a hard call. I mean, it's like a toss of a coin, but I love David Warner. I just think he's that energizer at the top of the order. I think it helps him having Travis Head because Travis Head is almost taking a little bit of that pressure off him just to go out and be really aggressive. I think Travis Head of the two is more aggressive. He just goes for it, and Warner can just play. But when you think of both of these players, it could be their last 50-over game today. And it amazes me when you get these players that announce their retirement before the tournament, or David Warner announced his retirement. I think he plays his last Test match in Sydney in early January, and he's got better and better and better. It's almost like all the pressure, and he's now just enjoying his cricket. And what a way to go for both of them in a World Cup final. So that's the real carrot for those two today, is to get the team to the World Cup final. I think South Africa's whole performance depends on a Quinton de Kock. That's how important he is for South Africa. I think when you see Quinton go out the traps, because he is an aggressor and he likes to score, and he is the person that will get on the front foot and put bowlers under pressure, I think that sends confidence through that dressing room. If he gets out early, I think South Africa struggle. That's how important Quinton is for South Africa.
Well, both Warner and Quinton de Kock are up there on a Naukri career score. Let's see who's going to have a better game today. I think DK is veering towards Quinton, but let's see who has a better game today. South Africa batting first. I would like to speak about Bavuma because, he's been a great captain, Michael. He's really marshaled his troops very well. But as a batter, I feel Bavuma has not really come to the party in this World Cup. What's going wrong with Bavuma?
Oh, I mean, pre-World Cup, you look at his numbers, excellent. His average of near on 80, striking over 100. He's just had one of those tournaments that he's not managed to really get. Look at his highest score, 35. He's got in on a few occasions, got to 20, got to 25, then he's got out. And, on these Indian wickets, which are good, you kind of would think that once you get to 25, you should really be able to go on, particularly opening the batting. His captaincy is good. I think he leads the team really well. And, I know he's had a little bit of a niggle over the last few days. There was doubt whether he would play today, but I think it's important that your captain's out there. I mean, there was talk of Reza Hendricks coming back in. He's a player that got 80-odd here at the Wankhede against England, not played since. But you need your leader. And he's been leading this South African 50-over team for quite a while now and leading them well. A year ago, would you have said that South Africa would make a semi-final in India? I don't think many would have said that. But coming into the tournament with what Temba and his team have been doing, everyone gave them a little sniff because of that quality that they have throughout their team. And that stems from leadership. It stems from planning and, good preparation. And sometimes the captain, you don't just look at the numbers, you look at what's happening around the whole group, and he's doing a really good job.
But DK, do you mind Temba, the batter, not coming to the party if he's taking on the responsibility as a captain, or do you think he's going to step up in today's big game?
Speaking to a lot of South African players, the one thing that he does have in that dressing room is respect. I think people realize there were some sensitive moments. The previous T20 World Cup that happened in Dubai, there were some sensitive moments, and he held through all of that really well as a leader. At no point did he give in to the players. He made sure he backed his players and did whatever was required to keep them in a safe cocoon, so to say. And that has gone a long way with his leadership. And it showed in his ODI batting. In T20 cricket, he was at times not doing as expected, and he was having a poor World Cup. But in the one-day format, he's been their go-to player up until the World Cup started. It's just in the World Cup, I think, playing on a few tracks which probably aided spin. The 35 that he got is actually a very good knock, and I say that because Quinton was batting rather timidly that day. But it was Temba Bavuma who decided that I need to take them on, and he did it beautifully till he got out on 35. So you can't say he's out of form. It's just that he hasn't found a way to get going, just like what Michael said. When you get to 25-30 in India, at times it's in cruise control mode because, the field's spread, the spinners come on, if you can knock around the singles, the odd boundaries will come because the outfields are fast. That's the place he's got now. He's done well in South Africa, where obviously you play a lot more of fast bowling than spin. It's a lot easier to play spin. But in India, on spinning pitches, he's had his struggles. For me, I don't look at his batting skills as much as I see what he can bring to the team as a captain and as a leader. And there have been some fabulous leaders. Pat Cummins for Australia, Rohit Sharma for India. All the teams that have been part of this World Cup semi-finals group have all had good leaders. And that is always a sign of a healthy cricket team. And it's but obvious that the 4 teams who have qualified for the semi-finals have 4 top-grade captains.
Well, you spoke about Pat Cummins, and I feel Pat Cummins was under a little bit of pressure when he came in. He was not the most experienced ODI captain, and there were question marks raised because he lost that series in India. They lost the first 2 games. There was pressure on him, but clearly since then, everything's gone right for him. Cummins, I think the batter also came in when it was required. He plays a solid knock, be it against Afghanistan when Maxi was doing what Maxwell does, or the Netherlands game also. I think he got a 14 odd in 35, 37 balls. So he comes in and does what a captain's required. So Michael, Pat Cummins, the captain for you, has he impressed you?
Absolutely. I mean, you don't get many bowling captains. So it's always the batters that get the captaincy. He's been great for Australian cricket. When you think when he got the job and what he's done with the Test team, what he's doing with his 50-over team, I think you always look at leadership in adversity when it's not going right. How does he cope? They lose the first 2 games, didn't panic. I believe that he's brilliant around the players. Glenn Maxwell, after his incredible 100, he spoke to us on a podcast and said that we're very lucky to have Pat as our leader. So that's the respect that he has in the dressing room. He clearly is a very determined personality in terms of the way that he plays his cricket, but also very relaxed with the players, and he allows them to be them. I think it's very important when you're a leader that when you pick players, don't try and change them. You can try and change the cricket techniques and you can try and change, 1 or 2 areas of their game, but don't change the personalities. That's why you've picked them. You want the fun aspects of the personalities that you pick. You want the serious aspects if that's what they are in the dressing room. Don't try and change the personalities. It's about putting those personalities together in the team and making it work collectively as a group. And I think Pat Cummins does that as well as anybody.
Well, you said he shouldn't change around personalities, and there's something else Pat Cummins says is he doesn't want to change around the way Australia has been playing this World Cup. This is what he had to say, being really clear that if we are going to fail, this is how we want to fail. If it's being meek and being dictated to, that's not acceptable. But if we have to go out, take the game on, try to shift the pressure back on the opposition, and it doesn't work, that's okay. We can live with that. DK, it's interesting that Michael said, he likes to play a certain brand of cricket and he's proud of the brand that they're playing.
There's a couple of cricketers that I've met in my life who have felt have a fun balance to them. One is Dale Steyn. I've always thought that he's a great guy to have in an IPL scenario because he has this warm vibe about him, gels along with everybody. The second cricketer is Pat Cummins. I remember when we picked him for the KKR for the first time when I was a captain, having a conversation with him, and he just, normal conversation, and he just asked me, DK, what do you want me to do? I just said, mate, look, at the back end is where I really require you. Look at Yorkers, and I know you bowl a good length ball. And he said, all right, I'll make sure I practice, and I'll be the guy that you want me to be. So my point here is, and he'd achieved a lot by then. And he wasn't the Australian captain at that stage, but you could see the kind of clarity he had in his thought process. A very He's a very non-complicated guy or an uncomplicated guy. He keeps things very simple, has a great dry sense of humor, which is a very attractive quality about him. And I'm sure when Glenn Maxwell spoke about him, it is the fact that he's able to wear the captain's hat when required, but at the other times he's able to just be Pat Cummins, the person that the people are used to. You hear Mitchell Starc talk about him. You hear Travis Head speak about him. They all look at him as the guy who we have a lot of respect as a leader, but a lot of the times he's just that usual guy who has been there even before captaincy was given to him. And I think that is a very endearing quality. At times you can wear the captain's hat a touch too heavily and you just feel like you're given added responsibility / power / whatever you want to say. But he's been that guy who's been that calming influence where he hasn't changed at all as a leader. The way he addresses press conferences, he's had some tough moments. When Justin Langer was being relieved of his duties as a coach, the way he stood up for his players was very, very good as a leader. He spoke the right things and said it from the heart and made a point where everybody backed off saying, fair enough, I think he has a point there. And that's what you want to do as a leader. I know in the same show, Simon Dool said that he isn't sure if Pat Cummins is the captain that they require. And that's not because he felt that he wasn't good enough. He just said that he's playing Test cricket, T20 and this one. I don't know if he'll be able to handle such a load. And that's a very fair point. But when you see Australia as a cricketing nation, what they've gone through post the Cape Town incident that happened, the way he's come about and handled the situation after the Tim Paine incident that happened, taking over in that Ashes, winning comfortably, doing the right things on the field, but also creating an atmosphere where players are able to be themselves, as Michael said. That has been the greatest quality of Pat Cummins, the captain, one which we can't see, but one which the players know, and that's why they respond to him in such a positive manner.
But Michael, you know, it's interesting, DK says this, Pat Cummins actually was asked a question of will he continue as ODI captain, and he didn't really give a very definite answer. So he said, you know, I've managed my workload well so far and I don't know what the future has to offer. But do you see him carrying this forward, captain as Tests and ODIs?
No, I mean, you've got to be respectful for these guys that, you know, the next World Cup's 4 years away. You know, Pat Cummins, an opening bowler. He loves Test match cricket. Will he be playing 50-over cricket in 4 years' time? Maybe not. You know, will he have to be rested for certain series? Absolutely. I mean, I don't think anyone retires these days because you just don't know what the future holds. And these players look after the bodies so well that, you know, Pat Cummins could easily be playing in 4 years' time. But I don't think he wants to commit. And why should he? DK made a really good point that, you know, when I always say to anyone that gets given the captaincy, just be you. Never try and be something else, because if you are trying to be something else, you'll get found out. And I think that's what Pat Cummins has done brilliantly. I think it's very clear when he's captaining and it's very clear when he's just Pat Cummins. And I think he is a bit of a, I mean, you speak to Glenn Maxwell in the partnership, I think Pat was basically taking the mick, having a bit of a laugh out in the middle. I think they were telling, I don't know what the jokes were, but I believe they were telling some dad jokes out in the middle. And if you've got your captain who's willing to just be relaxed and have a bit of fun when the pressure is on, oh, that helps the team. If your captain is uptight and he's panicking and he's kicking the dirt, lobbing the cap on the floor, that does not help anybody. And I think Pat Cummins, of all the captains, I think he's probably the one that stays the coolest the longest.
Well, someone who's put his hand up.
Kane Williamson.
Yes,
Kane, well, I guess Kane,
well.
but yeah, Kane. But I'm talking. You know, I don't want to disrespect Kane, but Pat seems to be, you know, when he was in the Ashes series, and that was pressure. You know, particularly at Edgbaston in the first Test match when he went out to bat. On that, I think it was the fourth day when they were chasing down. I've never seen a guy stay as cool in all my life. He did it with Maxwell at the Wankhede with the bat. This isn't his main, trait. He's a bowler, really, isn't he? But with the bat in hand, he's cool. Captaincy is cool, and obviously with the ball in hand, he's as good as pretty much any of the fast bowlers of this generation.
And it's actually interesting. We speak about his batting, his captaincy, but actually his bowling has come along really well. He is the one guy who's used the slow ones to the maximum effect in this World Cup, and he's been their best death bowler in many ways. It's maybe not 46, 48, 50, but between 40 and 45, he is the guy who's actually picked up key wickets in easing the pressure for a Hazelwood or a Stark. And that's actually been the best part of Pat Cummins' bowling. We know he can bowl well with the new ball through the middle, but at that stage, when the heat is on, he's able to do it, and that's a good skill.
Well, the heat is now on to us because we have to answer Mr. Joy Bhattacharya's question. Michael, we have high hopes that you're going to get the answer to this. Let's have a look at today's question. What specifically connects these three India versus Australia ODIs? 21st Jan 1986, Sydney, 5th November 2009, Hyderabad, and 23rd Jan 2016, Sydney.
I know, none of us were part of it.
Yeah, it'll be something to do with Virat.
Oh, why do you think so?
I don't know.
Did that
Well,
something in
Virat's-
1983 or something?
Yeah,
That's
but it'll be
86.
something to do. He'll have done something on that.
Was he born in 86?
No, but his parents will have done something on that day. It'll be something linked to Virat Kohli. It's Virat's week, isn't it?
All right, Michael thinks it's going to be something to do with Virat. I have absolutely no idea, like always. DK, I don't think you have any idea either. So we'll just quickly move fast to our prediction because that's the most important thing at Cricbuzz Live. And South Africa, batting first. Michael, why don't you go?
282.
That's conservative, isn't it?
It's not an easy pitch. Michael's, I think, I'm trusting Pommy Bangwa completely on this. I'm thinking it's not a bad total at all. I would just go a little higher and say 316.
That's much higher, but 286, 282 you said.
282.
282. We have to play as a team because we have competition downstairs. So I should go with 298.
Okay.
And you're 316.
16.
All right, those are our scores. Let's hope that Cricbuzz English manages to win over Cricbuzz Hindi. I'm sure we've got some good food ordered for us and we've got a great match in store. So we're going to quickly go eat and watch this great match. Why don't you all join us at the 15th over point at the Cricbuzz Combox. We'll see you soon.